all hands on board. Okay. Don't know where there's a pause button on that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And the Atmos thing playing here for quite probably a couple of months, I think. Yeah, got this one back in, you know. Unforgiven. No, Unbroken. That's it. Yeah. So at the moment it's only. So I'm just going through the channels. I'm just doing some sort of kind of earwig listening. Can't really focus on that. Alright, that's the those two ones there that are highlighted there. That's the front wide channels. There's a little bit of sound now and then on it, but it is a bit disappointing sometimes. But I was thinking, I was sort of thinking, listen to what's playing there, what's playing, and then I'll bring any one of the other channels up. I'll bring any one of, so you know, if I pink noised it and all that, you know, and try and get the other little JBLs over there, the control 5. There's a control 5 plus there. Yeah, it's in the wrong position, but I don't really care. As long as it works. I don't care how it's designed, but really, you know, I listen to these front wides, and you know, they should be out that sort of distance, or well, they should be a little bit more angled outward a bit. Really, it should be more a little bit somewhere between the well, a few more on the sidewall where the other JBL surround speakers are located. The 8330, 8330 Mark IIs should be one located round about there, and one located round about up there, really, realistically, and probably a little bit lower down, I would say, because it'll be a little bit too high up. That's where they should be, but the problem there being is some mixes that I've noticed where have sound effects that are in those channels, and they're completely outside of the screen area, that make no sense, like Star Trek Beyond, where they have this zero gravity floating around thing near the end of the movie, and there's two Kirk and there's this alien or whatever, I don't know, two people having a little flotation fight floating around. Yeah, and they make these stupid sounds like oof, oof. And I thought, what the heck is that supposed to be? Is that it? But the problem there being the sounds were, you know, where the speakers are located over there for this, the so-called wide channels. The sound was completely outside of the screen area, because though using the OLED, the where they're located in the screen area was more or less in the middle. And the sound should be more or less, if it was behind the projection screen, it should be, you know, there should be extra channels, so to speak, and or configurations. So, like I say, like the Dolby format sort of thing for 70mm had so many sound formats. You know, there's 6 magnetic tracks, but they had different sound format configurations, and this, that's noted on the film print on the can, and the projectionist knows it and knows what film format to put the film in on the CP 200. But I was thinking, what if I had extra, you know, so I listen to the movie before, you know, and sound rehearsal listening could be a very long process. I mean, legend has it that James Cameron spent, I think, 4 days at the Empire Leicester Square to do the sound rehearsals for Titanic in the THX sound system there. 70mm DTS, in 4 days. So that's very long hours each day, I would imagine. When they did those rehearsals, they probably did them at night time, I guess, after the they might have had a day where they closed the cinema. I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is what I've roughly read, and I think, yeah, I believe that. 4 days, you know, because you've got to make it, like, really good. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, if I do a sound rehearsal, you know, say so far, there's been very little sounds on these front wides. There's only a few little sounds so far during the opening of this movie. And it's really going through the whole movie, because, you know, to see where these sounds are, sometimes if they got something that might have a visual cue sort of thing, and I think, yeah, those speakers realistically need to be placed somewhere in the middle sort of thing. But where, I don't know. You know, it's psychoacoustics, and looking at the image and listening to the sound. Otherwise, when someone like myself or picks up on it, they realise that, well, that doesn't make sense, because the positioning was, it didn't fit the position to where, if it's something that's off screen sort of thing, then you can usually sometimes figure that out. You can usually figure that out, that that doesn't make sense. It seems like it's in the wrong position, because it's where speakers are located on the wall typically, and real world sound, it just moves around freely, whereas Atmos is pretty, well, it's very restricted to what it can do. It can't do everything. It can only do so tiny little, because, you know, get a little bit of paper, a little sweet wrapper in your fingers, and you rustle it, and then you move it around slowly, and that sound is going in that position, literally going through that positioning in three-dimensional space in that, and then you move it upward or downward and or forward or toward you a little bit more. Dolby Atmos, it cannot do that. The speakers are located where they, you know, have been since the since they probably started doing phantom sound. What was that, 1940? And not much has changed since then. Few more speakers placed behind the screens during the 1950s for wider screens, Cinerama, sort of thing for 70mm, Todd AO, all those formats. And then, you know, the only differences going from optical soundtracks to magnetic soundtracks, discrete sound, wider dynamic range on magnetic soundtrack. But so far, into Unbroken, you know, the movie's going on. You know, there's been very little sound so far. So even in the real world, there will be sounds going on. You know, it's like, oh gosh, you know, these filmmakers, directors, producers, sound designers, re-recording it, they're like, why aren't they utilising this? You know, it's like, oh, they got to use it for a little bit of sound effects on an opening of a movie, and it's like, oh, when they're completely forgetting about sound itself and reality and oh dear, I think most films are at a bit of a loss. They're a mixed bag. I think, you know, they say a movie like Dolby Atmos, and it's like, oh, everybody's think it's got to be, oh wow, best ever. And sometimes it turns out to be an utter disappointment. Total, maybe rubbish picture, rubbish story, rubbish acting, rubbish sound mix. Or you get something that's pretty average, good writing, acting, visual effects, wow. And sound, wow. Whoa. It seemed like, not kind of like being there, but it was like, whoa. They've managed to utilise everything, I think, in what I'm hearing through the sound reproduction. The thing that spoils, I think, a movie is when you see the speakers around the room, because you know that a speaker can only produce, whether it's a little sound or medium or large sound, and dynamics. At the end of the day, they're fake, and it's just based on experience and sort of like trying to create a psychoacoustic illusion, but speakers are all different sizes, and if I had certain sound object or certain objects in my hand and that can make certain sounds, or other objects that I could place around and then do something to make a sound from that object, like could be anything. Piece of glass, take a small piece of glass and take a hammer, smash it. It's going to make a certain loudness, and it's going to be within that certain area. It's going to be a pinpointed position, and then you're going to hear a sort of maybe a reflection of it arriving back at our ears. But there was a little bit of sound on this just for a second then, but it was so absolutely, I have to say, it was absolutely pathetic. It was like, and I was thinking, what the bloody hell was that supposed to be? You wouldn't even notice it. So it's like a little bit of music cutting in. Doesn't make sense. It was like it's like having a knackered sound system trying to play the sound. Just turn the fader up, and I'll show you the levels. Could show you the levels on the on here. I'll show the levels. There we go. There's levels there. That was the front wide. That was so exhilarating. This is supposed to be a highlight in the movie, if you know what I mean. Mixers just don't know how to do it. Because think about it, that's like someone being on the single sideband on the CB radio, and you've got standard power versus everyone else that's running linear amplifiers, 200, 500, 1.5 kilowatts, 2 kilowatts. And the signals are going to be like, all over the place. And that was just this. It's the same principles. It's like radio astronomy. It's like listening for a signal, and then you see a little amongst all some of the very the filtering and all the noise, and you see then a little spike, and you think, oh, what's that? Only appeared for just a brief moment. But if it's like, pretty continuous and depending on the strength of the signal, yeah, so plus it's also the level, the sound level of the actual output of the front wide versus the actual sound frequency. And when you look at the actual frequency, you think, versus other sounds that are playing, oh gosh, that are the ones that are going to be most continuous are the ones that are going to be highlighted on the sound levels meters. And it's like, okay, so if I had to modify the playback specifically for this film, it'd probably take me a few days. And I'd be thinking, oh, I hope it's worth it, you know. Because really, if I had the control of the mixing and this, I'd be utilising the whole damn thing. First, you got to sort of like think, well, where we're going to place atmospheric sounds. Are we going to pan dialogue? I think definitely pan dialogue. Keep it, you know. So if they're performers moving visually on and off screen, and their voices are there, and then they move off screen, and you know, into the surround or something, you know, you should hear all the like we hear in reality. That's what Atmos is supposed to be, in it. Hear every dimension. Oh, that's just marketing bullshit at the end of the day. BS. Look, there's an action scene here with bloody airplane. Oh, little bit of sound there on the aeroplane. Now it sounded like the bloody engines have fallen off the airplane, because a little bit of sound and then suddenly, boom, it goes. It sounded like the bloody engines have fallen off. Mind you, they are making a crash landing. The bloody fader level's up to about 4. But all the other levels are going to be pretty loud. So if I had to do the sound rehearsal on this, it's going to be very, very tough and very awkward, very exhausting. Sometimes it's really not a one-person job. It's several. Otherwise, why would James Cameron be with other projectionists at the Empire Leicester Square doing sound rehearsals for Titanic? So he's got to be with probably one or two other projectionists and a few other technicians, I suppose, so they can get it all spot on and tuned up, you know, though the EQs on the CP200 are only 3rd octave, so there's very limited things to do, and maybe other things that they probably, I don't know, probably done, maybe amplifier level differences, level differences, I suppose. I wasn't there. I didn't see Titanic at the. I only saw it local downtown, and I projected it myself at Warner Brothers, and by hand. And plus the premiere at the Empire was only a premiere, so it was only a one-night show. Gosh, 4 days just for a one-night show. And then it played exclusively at the Odeon Leicester Square, which isn't really a great sounding auditorium cinema. It's pretty lousy, as it technically is, because the circle that you sit in, or the circle balcony rather, the balcony, you might as well just be watching an OLED TV at home, because the image is so small when you look at it, and the sound is pretty distant sounding. It's due to the shape of the acoustic of the auditorium and such. It's pretty lousy. I've only been there, only seen 2 films there, and they have always been not that good. Last Action Hero, 70mm 6-track mag, and Leatherheads, Dolby Digital Cinema package. Oh, there was a little bit of music cutting in on these front wides, but it's like it sounds like a knackered bloody sound system or knackered soundtrack. You know, that's you know what it reminds me of. It reminds me of, I tell you, this reminds me of a hi-fi VHS tape. When the hi-fi track has got damage, it drops out and goes down to linear mono on most hi-fi decks. What the bloody look at it! Are the sound mixers taking the piss with that? I mean, what sort of you know, what sort of that, to be frank, that is not film sound. That is nothing more than a bloody distraction. Don't know what's going on there. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, so let's just keep this running there. No, can't do pause on that. Okay. So if I were to quickly grab wherever it is, it's over there somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Oh dear. There it is. Oh. Okay. I think it's a little bit overrated, Unbroken. I think it's a little bit overrated. I mean the Dolby Atmos, on Unbroken is a little bit overrated. Alright, let's try something different. Okay. Oh, getting a little bit of this stupid sound coming in. So, don't know why they do it like that. I really don't know. It doesn't make sense. to me, it sounds hokey, it sounds gimmicky. There's something weird going on with this front wide, which doesn't sound legit to me. It doesn't sound legitimate. Sounds like the decoder matrixing or whatever is going on within the processing is just taking a sound specific and just pumping it up a little bit and then back down. It's something very, very gimmicky about it. The idea, I had an idea years ago that was, I was hearing sounds that were phantom imaged between here and the surround and vice versa on that side, and I was hearing a phantom sound or noticing, and then I was thinking, what if I would have put two ProLogic decoders, one on that side, one on that side, and do the connections so the side surround connects into a left input on the processor, and then the left front channel will connect into the right, and do the same thing on the other side. And then once it's all set up in the amplifiers and the speakers are placed and a new speaker is positioned, or that's the thing, I never actually implemented this actual system, but I'm pretty sound it would have worked pretty well, because it would just be looking for a signal. So you've got to do all the pink noise checking and make sure everything is spot on, the sound, though there will be little snags with it, but it should, when a signal is equal, a phantom signal appears, it won't be floating between a surround speaker here and the front up there, and you get this phantom image, like, I don't know where exactly it is. I think it's there. No, I think it's over there. You see, that comes back to the same confusion of, like, you got three people sat in seats listening to the test in the cinema, and they say, no, the dialogue's over this side. No, the other person over that side says, no, the dialogue's over here. And then the one in the middle says, no, it's there. And that's just two speakers, so it's phantoming the dialogue. So you kind of like then think, well, you get a lot of agree and disagreeing going on. And so the only way to solve it is, you know, putting another speaker there, so it's in the middle, so that the sound then typically for, you know, dialogue would be positioned in, and then say, yep, I hear it. I'm in this seat, I hear it there. I'm in this seat, I hear it there. I'm in this seat, I hear it there. They're doing a little bit of dialogue panning at the moment with I heard a little bit of Ed Harris, a little bit of faint little bit of George Clooney trying to do some product placement on coffee brand, but again, it's pretty limited to what it's playing. Anyway, that's that. It's a pretty long video. Usually I don't, you know, there should be a bloody pause button on this so I can pause in between. So this is, you know, I don't like doing editing because I think, you know, then I'm suppressing things, so I just keep it raw. Whereas other people are editing and all that, and then they say they make a big deal, oh, I spent a few days editing and then I'm uploading for content. I don't care, just as long as you get information out there or do a rant, I really don't care. Anyway, what are you up to, Madge? He's just looking for food. Anyway, so I'm going to be doing more listening, and I might do, you know, so anyway.